By 7:45, Sweet Mercy looked like a bakery, a bank vault, and a dragon embassy had gotten into a fistfight and decided to split rent. The new fireproof glass hummed soft whenever a dragon walked too close. The royal contract hung behind the register in a gold frame so heavy Derek swore it was trying to pull the wall down. 2 dragon guards stood outside the front door in black armor, pretending not to smell every cinnamon roll that came out of my oven. One of them had bought 4. I saw the crumbs on his collar. The last human customer hurried out with a box of red velvet cupcakes tucked under her arm, eyes wide at the scaled guard holding the door for her. "Thank you for shopping at Sweet Mercy," I called. "Please ignore the swords. They're decorative until they're not." Cindy snorted from the espresso machine. "You say that like it helps." "It helps me." Melon was wiping down the display case, very carefully avoiding the scorch mark still tattooed into the tile near the front window. The contractors had offered to replace the whole section. I told them no. That mark was history. Also, it reminded certain winged customers not to act stupid near my buttercream. Derek leaned against the counter, sunglasses on indoors like he was guarding a celebrity nightclub, instead of a bakery that smelled like nutmeg and stress. "You know," he said, "I used to deliver cupcakes. Now I'm checking dragon IDs. You wanted a promotion. I wanted dental. Dragon-related dental." I pointed at the mop bucket. "Promote yourself to sanitation." The door opened before Derek could complain. Every dragon in the room straightened. I did not have to turn around to know who had entered. The heat told me first. Not oven heat, not summer sidewalk heat. Malrik heat. Deep, white, ancient. The kind that curled under my skin and made my wedding ring wake up like it had been waiting all day for its favorite problem. Malrik filled the doorway in black formal clothes, dark hair loose over his shoulders. Gold eyes fixed on me like the rest of the bakery had become background noise. One of his scale markings curved along his cheek, glowing faintly under his skin. In one hand he carried a black box, in the other, flowers. Not 300 this time. Progress. I looked him up and down. Is this courtship or evidence? His mouth curved. Both, if you wish. Cindy made a sound behind me. I held up one finger. "Girl, breathe quieter." Malrik stepped inside, and the fireproof glass gave a soft answering pulse. Outside, the dragon guards lowered their heads. Inside, 2 customers who had been pretending not to stare immediately pretended harder. My husband did not look at them. He looked at me. "I waited until after closing," he said. My stomach dipped. Not from fear. Not exactly. We had said those words 3 days ago, after closing. I had whispered them like a promise and a dare. Then life had done what life always did. Bills, orders, rebuilding, council nonsense, and 12 separate dragon nobles trying to pay for lemon bars with rubies. Now Malrik stood in my bakery with a black box and the expression of a man prepared to either worship me or burn down a city. With him, it could go either way. I wiped my hands on my apron. "We still have 15 minutes. His gaze moved over my face, down my throat, stopping where Kieran's claw had left a thin, healing line. Fire flickered in his eyes. My ring tightened. "Malrik?" I said softly. His attention snapped back to mine. "Don't go murder face over a scar I survived." His jaw worked. "I remember his hand on you. I remember stabbing a dragon and making a cake in the same week. We all have memories." Derek coughed. "On that note, I'm leaving before this gets marital." Cindy grabbed her purse. "Melon, come on." Melon looked between me and Malrik, then blurted, "Should I restock the napkins first?" "No," Cindy and I said together. Chairs scraped, keys jingled. Derek kissed my cheek, gave Malrik a look that was brave for a man without scales, and herded everyone out the side door. "Text me if he gets weird," Derek said. Malrik tilted his head. "Define weird." "Exactly why I'm concerned." I locked the door behind them. For a second, Sweet Mercy settled into silence. No customers, no shouting, no timer screaming. Just the low hum of protected glass, the soft tick of cooling trays, and Malrik breathing behind me. I turned. He had not moved closer. That was new, too. The old Malrik would have crossed the room because he wanted to. The man in front of me waited like waiting hurt, and he had chosen to do it anyway. "What's in the box?" I asked. He held it out. I opened it carefully. Inside were smooth, dark stones veined with silver, a folded length of black silk, and a little jar labeled in Moses's neat handwriting. I lifted the jar. "Cooling salve?" "The internet was useless," Malrik said. "Moses was not." I stared at him. "You asked Moses for sex supplies?" His brows drew together. "I asked how not to burn my wife." That took the joke right out of me. He came closer then, slow enough that I could step back if I wanted. I did not. "The dragon is not separate from me," he said. "Not in desire, not in hunger, not in tenderness. If I let more of myself rise, you will feel more than a man." My heart thudded. The ring warmed, gold light slipping under my skin. "And if I say stop?" "Then I stop. If I say slow, I slow. If I say your dragon is doing too much." A faint smile touched his mouth. Then I remind him his queen is not prey. That word should not have done anything to me. It did. I took a breath. No full dragon body in my bakery. His eyes flashed with something like offense and amusement. "Never like that. I remain shaped as your husband. Wings, heat, senses, fire held back. Nothing that harms you. Good. Because if you knock down my ceiling, I'm claiming it on your royal insurance. You may claim anything of mine." That was dangerously smooth. I practiced. I laughed, and the sound loosened something in both of us. Then he reached for my apron ties. He stopped before touching them. I nodded. Only then did his fingers move. The knot slipped loose at my waist. The apron fell away, landing in a soft heap by my feet. His hands were enormous, warm, careful. That carefulness hit me harder than force would have. Malrik could crack stone. I had seen him crush bone. But with me, his fingers moved like I was not fragile, like I was precious. There was a difference. He bent his head and kissed the healing cut at my throat. Heat bloomed there, not painful, but deep enough to make my knees think about giving up their employment. "Still okay?" he asked against my skin. "Don't make me compliment you this early." His breath warmed my jaw. "I require truth." "Then yes." The word had barely left me before the air changed. Scales surfaced along his forearms, black edged with gold. His nails darkened into controlled claws. His shoulders shifted, muscles rolling beneath his shirt as wings unfurled behind him in a slow, devastating sweep. They were larger than my kitchen should have allowed, black as midnight with molten gold threading the membranes. The ovens clicked, the glass fogged. I forgot how to be funny for a full 3 seconds. Malrik noticed. Of course he noticed. "I frighten you." "Yes," I said honestly. His wings stilled. I stepped closer and put my palm over the scales on his chest. But not enough to leave. The ring flared. Suddenly I felt him. Not thoughts exactly, not words. More like a door opening inside heat. Sky, gold, stone under claws. Wind powerful enough to hold mountains in its mouth. And hunger, violent, ancient hunger, chained by choice. I gasped. Malrik caught my waist. "Too much?" "No." My fingers curled against him. "Just big." His smile turned wicked. "You have not seen big." There he is, my humble husband. He kissed me then, and the room narrowed to fire and mouth and the solid wall of his body. He did not rush. That was the maddest part. He had waited through accidental marriage, attempted murder, court politics, white fire, and my entire closing checklist, and still he kissed me like he had all night to learn every answer my body gave him. His heat came in stages. First his breath, then his hands, Then the strange gold pulse of the ring, adjusting, cooling where his skin burned too hot, warming where I trembled. He lifted me, and I wrapped myself around him, with a sound I would deny under oath. "Belinda," he warned, voice rough. "What?" "You make control difficult." "I love that." His eyes burned brighter. "Dangerous woman." "Married one." He carried me into the back room, away from the prep counters, because even passion had to respect health codes. The black silk from the box unfolded across the old nap cot I used during overnight wedding cake disasters. It shimmered when he laid me down, cool against my skin. I looked up at his wings spreading above me. "You brought special dragon sheets?" "I brought protection." "That is the sexiest responsible thing you've ever said." His laugh was low and disbelieving, like joy still surprised him. Then there was no more room for teasing, only choosing. I chose his hands when they asked, his mouth when it offered, his heat when it surrounded me without swallowing me whole. The ring braided gold light around my wrist, my ribs, my thighs, not trapping me, anchoring me. Through it, I felt the dragon inside him press close to the surface and stop there, held back by the man who had promised to learn gentle. He loved me like fire, learning the shape of warmth. At one point, pleasure broke through me hard enough that I saw the sky from his memory. Clouds beneath us, stars above, the mountains small and distant. His wings shuddered, shelves rattled. Somewhere in the front, a display tray slid off balance and clanged to the floor. I started laughing into his shoulder. Malrik froze. "Did I hurt you?" "No." I kissed the scale at his collarbone. "You knocked over the day-olds." "I will replace them." "With what? Royal apology muffins?" "If you require them." "I might." He kissed me again, softer now, and the night stretched around us, hot and gold and impossible. Afterward, he wrapped me in the black silk and checked every inch of skin he thought he might have warmed too much. His face was serious enough to irritate me on principle. "I am not cracked porcelain," I said. "No." He smoothed salve over a warm mark on my shoulder with unbearable care. "You are my queen." That was not an argument. It was the reason. I watched him kneel beside the cot, wings folded tight, hair falling around his face, this terrifying dragon lord holding a jar of cooling salve like it contained the secrets of the universe. My chest went tender. Damn him. "You did good," I said. His hand stilled, gold eyes lifted to mine. "Good? Don't get greedy. I'm emotionally vulnerable and dehydrated." He pressed his mouth to my palm. "I will bring water." "And the day-olds you murdered?" "I will bring those too." He rose, still half-shifted, still too large for the back room, still mine in a way that scared me if I thought about it too long. As he opened the door to the front, cold night air slipped in under the frame. My ring pulsed once. Not warm. Warning. I sat up. "Malrik?" He went still. Outside, beyond the fireproof glass and the sleeping street lamps, something black-red sparked in the gutter. Just once. Then it vanished. Malrik's wings spread behind him, blocking the doorway, and all the sweetness left his voice. "Stay behind me." By sunrise, the black-red ember in the gutter had become everybody's problem. Which was rude, because I had planned to sleep in. Instead, Sweet Mercy had 6 dragon guards outside, Moses kneeling by the curb with a silver bowl of ash, Julius muttering legal threats under his breath, and Malrik standing in the middle of my bakery, with his wings still out, like he was personally offended by architecture. I sat at a table with a mug of coffee strong enough to resurrect somebody's mean grandmother. "So," I said, "somebody threw a spooky spark in my gutter." Julius looked up. "It was not thrown." "Placed?" "Sent." "See, that sounds worse. I liked thrown." Moses rubbed the ash between 2 fingers. It hissed, black, red, and ugly. "It is a scout mark. Red throat remnants are watching your bakery." The ring on my finger warmed like it wanted to go outside and slap somebody. Malrik's voice came from behind me. They came close enough to mark your threshold. I turned in my chair. And yet I still expect you not to burn down the street. His gold eyes did that dangerous thing where the man stayed still, but the dragon behind him started measuring coffins. I gave no order to burn the street, he said. Progress. Derek, who had arrived wearing pajama pants and carrying a baseball bat, pointed toward the front window. Can we circle back to remnants? Because remnants sound like leftovers, and these leftovers keep trying to kill my cousin. Redthroat has no recognized lord since Kieran's capture, Julius said, but scattered soldiers remain loyal to his bloodline. Some may have followed another commander. I did not like how carefully he said that. Name? I asked. Julius hesitated. Malrik answered. Ravok. The bakery got colder, which made no sense with a dragon lord radiating fury near the register. Moses's face tightened. Kieran's sire. I set my coffee down. Of course evil has a daddy. Malrik looked at me then, and something in his expression shifted. Not softer exactly. Malrik did not do soft without looking like he was wrestling himself into it, but there was intent there. Decision. You will come with me today. I folded my arms. We talked about commands. This is not confinement. Sounds command adjacent. His wings flexed once, sending a stack of napkins fluttering off the counter. If Redthroat has begun marking you again, you must know every shape of me. My mouth went dry. Not fear. Not only fear. Last night had taught me what his dragon felt like pressed close under his skin. Wings, scales, heat, control so tight it shook him. I had felt the sky through the ring, tasted pieces of him no human woman had any business understanding. But full dragon? The thing dragons bowed to? The monster court enemies whispered about? I picked up my coffee again because my hands needed employment. You mean full scales, wings, teeth, whole royal lizard situation? His mouth twitched. Yes. And why exactly do I need to know that? Because if war finds us in the open, I will not be able to explain while changing. You need to know where to stand, how to climb, where not to touch, and what my fire feels like before battle makes it ugly. Moses nodded. He is right, I groaned. I hate when he gets witnesses. Cindy came in through the back, took one look at everybody's faces, and turned right back around. Nope, she said. Whatever dragon marriage meeting this is, I'm clocking in first. Coward, I called. Alive, coward. There. 2 hours later, I stood on a mountain ledge above Malrik's eyrie, regretting every decision that had brought me near altitude. The ledge stretched out black and wide beneath a bruised morning sky. Far below, clouds tangled around the lower cliffs. The world looked too distant and too honest from up there, all jagged peaks, silver rivers, and forest shadows. I had on boots, a fitted black coat Malrik insisted was fire-treated, and my braids tied back with a gold band that had more dragon law on it than my business license. Malrik stood several feet away, barefoot on stone, his dark hair whipping in the wind. He looked calmer than I felt. I hated that for him. You are afraid, he said. I am standing on the edge of a mountain about to watch my husband become a creature large enough to make the weather nervous. Yes, Malrik. My survival instincts have arrived. You do not have to do this today. That made me look at him. He meant it. No trap, no royal dragon nonsense. Just the offer. That irritated my fear because now I could not blame him for pushing. I sighed. I married you by accident, survived dinner with your people, stood in white fire, and almost got murdered in my own bakery. Transform, Malrik. His eyes burned. Stay where you are until I lower my head. That is not comforting. It is practical. Those are different departments. He stepped back. The air changed first. Pressure rolled across the ledge, heavy and electric. My ring flared gold, wrapping warmth around my fingers, as if holding my hand from the inside. Malrik bowed his head. Then his bones began to move. Not break. Not exactly. They shifted with a sound like deep thunder trapped inside flesh. His shoulders widened, spine lengthening, shadow spilling outward as wings tore from man-shape into something vast enough to darken the ledge. Scales rushed over his skin, black as storm clouds, edged in molten gold where the light caught them. His hands became claws that gouged the stone. His neck arched long and powerful. Horns swept back from his skull like polished obsidian. His jaw stretched, teeth flashing, white fire glowing between them. I stopped breathing. There was no polite way to look at him, no human category for what he became. Malrik, in full dragon form, was not an animal. He was a kingdom with wings, a nightmare made holy. A cathedral built out of muscle, flame, and violence. His tail struck the ledge behind him, and the stone cracked. I took one step back, his massive head turned toward me. One gold eye focused on me, larger than my face, slit-pupilled and ancient. The ring pulsed. Then his voice moved through my mind. Not aloud, not in the air. Inside me. Belinda. My knees almost forgot their assignment. I slapped a hand over my chest. Oh, absolutely not. Warn a woman before you put bass in her bloodstream. The dragon blinked, slowly. Then, unbelievably, amusement warmed through the bond. Climb, my queen. I stared at the mountain of scales in front of me. You say that like there are stairs. He lowered one foreleg. The scales along his shoulder shifted, forming ridges almost like steps. Gold light threaded between them, and my ring answered by sending thin bands of fire up my wrist. Show off, I muttered. Always. I climbed, badly. There was no graceful way to mount your dragon husband. My boot slipped once, and his wing curved around me instantly, blocking the wind. His scales were hot under my palms, not burning, but alive with banked power. Every breath he took lifted me. Every heartbeat rumbled through my bones. When I reached the place between his shoulders, the ring flashed. Gold fire unspooled from my finger, wrapping around my waist, my thighs, and one wrist. Not tight enough to trap, just firm enough to say, "You are not falling today." I patted the glowing strap. Good girl. Malrik's mental voice went dark with satisfaction. She knows what is mine. I pointed down at his neck. Do not start being sexy while I am clinging for my life. His chest rumbled. The sound rolled through the ledge and into me. Then he moved. One step, another. His wings opened. The wind hit like a living thing. Oh no, I said. No, 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 wait. He leapt. The mountain vanished. My scream tore out of me so hard it probably scared birds in another country. We dropped, straight down. Clouds rushed up. My stomach abandoned me. My hands locked around the base of one golden black ridge, and I promised every saint I could remember that if I survived, I would stop cussing at least on Tuesdays. Then Malrik's wings snapped wide. The fall became a flight. The world lifted. The air caught under us, powerful and smooth. His body surged upward with a force that pressed me low against his neck. The straps held me. The ring warmed. The bond opened wider. And suddenly I understood how he read the wind. Not as empty space, but as roads, rivers, hands pushing against his wings. He banked left. The Aerie spun below. My scream turned into a laugh before I could stop it. Malrik! Yes? You are so damn extra! He climbed higher. Clouds broke around us in silver pieces. Sunlight spilled over his scales, turning every gold edge into fire. My braids whipped behind me. Tears streamed from the wind, and I did not care. Below us, the mountain looked smaller. The court looked smaller. The fear looked smaller too. For once, nobody could lock me in a room. Nobody could put me behind stone and call it protection. Up here, the world had no walls. I pressed my cheek against his heated scales. So this is why y'all are arrogant. Yes. I laughed again, breathless and wild. He flew slower then, letting me feel the rhythm of him. Wing beat, glide, turn, climb. His body was enormous beneath me, but every movement adjusted to mine. When I leaned wrong, he corrected. When my grip tightened, the ring steadied me. When fear returned in little sharp pieces, warmth rolled back through the bond. Not control. Comfort. That almost made me cry, which was ridiculous because I was currently riding a dragon over a mountain like somebody's expensive fever dream. "You brought me up here because this is where you're free," I said. The silence in the bond changed. "Yes." His answer came quieter. "And because you are my wife. I would not have you love only the man shape, because it is easier to touch." My throat tightened. "Malrik, I am this also." I looked at the great wings carrying us through the morning, the claws tucked beneath him, the white fire sleeping behind his teeth. "I know," I said. "I'm still here." For several heartbeats there was only sky. Then his body stiffened. The ring went hot. Not warm. Warning. I lifted my head. "What?" Malrik banked hard enough that the gold straps tightened around me. Far beyond the eastern ridge, near the border where the forest met black stone, a line of smoke crawled upward. Not gray. Black-red. Small flames flickered in the distance like wounds opening in the earth. Malrik's growl moved through my bones. Red throat. My fingers tightened against his scales. The sky did not feel like freedom anymore. It felt like a battlefield waiting for permission.
The smoke at the border was not smoke, it was an insult. Black-red fire curled above the eastern ridge in a thin, poisonous line, staining the clean morning with red throat arrogance. It did not rise like common flame. It twisted, it watched. Beneath my scales, wrath opened its mouth. Belinda's hands tightened around the ridge of my neck. Through the gold band securing her to me, I felt the sharp jump of her heartbeat. "Malrik," she called over the wind. Her voice was small against the sky. My rage was not. I wanted to dive. I wanted to fold my wings, drop through the clouds, and strike the border with enough white fire to turn Ravok's warning into glass. I wanted Redthroat to smell me coming and understand they had marked what belonged to me. But Belinda was on my back, my wife, my queen, human, warm, breathing. So I did not dive. That restraint tasted like blood. "Hold tight," I told her through the bond. "Don't tell me that right before doing something dragon stupid." Despite the smoke, despite the threat, amusement dragged one claw through me. Belinda could stand before war and still find a way to insult my intelligence. I banked hard to the west. The gold bands around her flared, securing her waist and thighs, her body pressed low against my scales. I felt her fear, yes, but not only fear, there was trust, too. Stubborn, suspicious trust, given with one hand while the other still held a knife. It humbled me. It aroused me. It terrified me. 3 of my border watchers rose from the lower clouds at my command. I did not speak aloud. I released a pulse of white fire into the wind, shaped with order. "Track. Do not engage. Report to Julius. If Ravok crosses the marked stones, break his wings and leave him breathing until I arrive." The watchers turned east. Belinda leaned closer. "Are we going after them?" "No." "That better not be Dragon 4. I'm dropping you off and going to commit a felony." "Dragon law has different felonies." "Malrik." I flew toward the Eyrie. Every instinct in me fought the turn. Dragons did not show their backs to threats. Lords did not leave challenge unanswered. Males did not carry their mates away while enemies burned warnings into their borders. But love had made my instincts complicated. Before Belinda, protection meant possession. Remove the beloved thing, lock it behind stone, kill anything that reached for it. Belinda had named that for what it was, owning, not protecting. The word still sat under my breastbone like a blade, so I carried her home instead of carrying her into fire. The landing ledge rose from the mountain below us. I circled once, twice, letting my wings slow the descent. Even then, when my claws struck stone, the ledge cracked. Belinda made a sound against my neck. I know you didn't just break another part of this mountain. It was old stone. That is what men say about furniture they don't want to replace. I lowered my body so she could climb down. The ring released her carefully, gold straps melting back into the band on her finger. She slid from my shoulder to my foreleg, then hopped onto the stone with less grace than pride. Her boots hit hard. She grabbed one of my scales to steady herself. I meant to do that, she said. I shifted before answering. Changing from dragon to man was pain and memory. Bone folded, wing narrowed, fire withdrew into flesh. Scales sank beneath the skin until only the markings along my face and arms remained. The mountain seemed too loud afterward, too small. Belinda stood before me, wind tugging at her braids, deep brown skin warmed by the gold light of morning. Her eyes were wide, but her chin was lifted like she was daring the world to call her scared. I wanted her with a violence that had nothing to do with my dick and everything to do with my soul. Last night had not eased hunger. It had taught hunger her name. I knew the taste of her pussy now. Knew the way her thighs gripped my shoulders. Knew how her voice broke when pleasure took her pride hostage. I knew the wet heat of her around my cock. The way she cursed and laughed and trusted me not to burn her. And because I knew those things, because I had been inside her, because my fire had curled around her body and my seed had spilled deep, I smelled the change the moment the wind shifted. I went still. Belinda frowned. What? Her scent had always been impossible. Sugar, cinnamon, coffee, human skin. Courage sharpened by irritation. Beneath that, the gold of the ring. Beneath that, the faint trace of my own fire from the claim. Now there was something else, small, deep, hidden under her heartbeat. An ember, not sickness, not wound, life. The dragon inside me lowered itself to the ground. My lungs refused the air. Belinda stepped closer. Malrik, what is wrong? I looked at her stomach. Only once. Her eyes narrowed immediately. Do not look at my body like you're reading bad news in dragon font. I forced my gaze back to hers. I sent something. You sent everything. You smelled Derek eating my emergency banana bread from 3 rooms away. This is different. Her mouth parted. The ring on her hand pulsed once, gold and strange. Belinda saw my face. The humor left hers. What kind of different? I wanted to lie. No, worse. I wanted to delay, to gather healers, law, histories, remedies, to tear open every sealed vault in the area until I found an answer clean enough to place in her hands. I wanted truth only after I had made it harmless. But Belinda had demanded truth from me before she gave me tenderness. No royal dragon nonsense. I would not repay her trust with cowardice dressed as protection. I do not know enough yet, I said, but it may be from last night. Her brows lifted. From the sex? Yes. Because if this is about your dick being magical, I need you to say that with your whole chest. A rough breath left me. Belinda. No. Don't Belinda me. You're standing there looking like somebody died, and now you're talking about last night. Use words. I stepped toward her, then stopped. I did not touch her without invitation, not now. Not with fear in her scent. There may be an ember in your blood. She stared at me. What does that mean? That is what I must learn before I speak more. Her expression tightened. That sounds very close to hiding. It is not. It is ignorance, and I hate it. That at least was true enough to calm a fraction of her suspicion. She crossed her arms. You have 1 hour. I may need more. You have 1 hour before I start asking Moses myself. I almost smiled. Almost. Then the ember pulsed again beneath her scent, delicate as a coal under ash, and terror closed its claws around my throat. "I will send guards with you to Sweet Mercy," I said. Her face went flat. "Try again. To wherever you choose to wait. Better. But you will not be alone. That I can live with." I bowed my head. "Thank you." Belinda looked at me for a long moment, then she reached up and touched the scale mark along my cheek. The contact nearly broke me. "Whatever it is," she said quietly, "don't turn into a mountain about it before you talk to me." I covered her hand with mine. "I am trying." "I know." She left with 2 guards and a list of threats about what would happen if anyone treated her like cargo. I watched until the tunnel swallowed her. Then I turned and went to Julius. I found him in the archive chamber with Moses because fate had developed a taste for efficiency. The chamber was carved into the mountain's inner spine, lined with black shelves and sealed gold records older than most human kingdoms. Julius stood over a scroll. Moses held a bowl of cooling ash from the gutter mark. Both looked up when I entered. Julius read my face first. "What has happened?" "I scented an ember in Belinda's blood." Moses closed his eyes. Julius did not move. Their silence was answer enough. My voice lowered. "Speak." Moses set the bowl down carefully. "How strong?" "Small, new, beneath the heartbeat. Then it has only just caught." The words struck harder than claws. Caught. My child, Belinda's child, ours. For one impossible moment, joy rose in me so pure it hurt. I saw Belinda with flower on her cheek and gold on her hand. I saw a child with her eyes in my fire. I saw a future I had never dared shape because dragons took heirs by law, by duty, by bloodline. But this would not be duty, this would be love made flesh. Then Moses opened his mouth again and joy turned to ash. "My lord," he said gently, "human bodies do not carry dragon flame easily." Julius drew a sealed record from the shelf. "There are precedents." "I do not want precedents, I want the truth." Julius's gaze held mine. "The truth is that many human mates who conceived dragon-born children bled early and often. Some weakened as the ember grew. Some lost the child. Some nearly lost their own lives. White fire gathered in my throat." Moses did not flinch. "A dragon mother feeds the young with her inner furnace before bone fully forms. Belinda has no furnace. She has the ring. The ring may try to serve as one," Moses said, "but if it feeds the child, it must draw from somewhere. Me or her." The room tightened around me. "Then it will draw from me," I said. "If the fire passes cleanly, yes, but your fire is white, Malrik. It heals and destroys. It is not womb fire. Too much could burn her, too little could starve the ember. Gold may temper it, but gold is not infinite." I turned away before my face betrayed too much. My claws had surfaced. They cut into my palms. Blood fell black-red onto the stone, not red throat red. Mine. "What do I do?" I asked. The question tasted like humiliation. I was Malrik of the White Flame, Dragon Lord, breaker of siege lines. The court bent when I entered. Enemies lowered their eyes or lost them. And now I stood in a library asking how not to kill my wife with the child I had put inside her. Moses's voice softened. "You tell her. I need answers first. You have the answer she asked of you. Truth." Julius nodded once. "And choice. Human law and dragon law both bend here. She must choose what risks she will take. She is my wife." "She is not your vessel," Julius said. My head snapped toward him. The old me would have made him regret the courage. The man Belinda had dragged out of the beast only breathed through the insult until I understood it was not an insult at all. It was a warning. Belinda was not a hoard to guard, not a womb to command. not a queen-shaped answer to my bloodline. She was Belinda, warm hands, sharp mouth, brave heart, body her own. My body fought harder than anyone, she would say if she could hear me thinking like a fool. I knew it. I already knew it. I left them without another word. By the time I reached Sweet Mercy, evening had settled over the street. The new glass hummed at my approach. Inside, Belinda sat at a table with Cindy, pretending to read inventory while watching the door, like she had been counting every minute past the hour she had given me. When I entered, her eyes lifted. She saw the truth before I spoke. My queen set down her pen. "Well?" she asked, voice steady. I crossed the bakery and knelt before her chair. The guards outside turned their faces away. Cindy went utterly still. I took Belinda's hand, careful of the living ring wrapped around her finger. "There is an ember in your blood," I said. "It may become our child." Her breath caught, my throat burned, "and it may hurt you."
For a second, the bakery went so quiet I could hear the refrigerator kicking on behind the cake case. Cindy did not move. Malrik stayed kneeling in front of me, my hand trapped in both of his, like he was afraid the truth might make me vanish. His gold eyes held mine, steady and wrecked at the same time. I looked down at my stomach, flat, normal, mine. Then I looked back at him. "So," I said slowly, "your dick came with a warning label." Cindy made a choking sound. Malrik's jaw flexed. "Belinda." "No, let me process how I process." I pressed my free hand to my chest. Through jokes and emotional terrorism. His thumb moved once over my ring. The gold band warmed as if it knew we were talking about it. "Is this definite?" I asked. "No, it is new, fragile. I sent an ember, but scent is not enough. A healer must examine you. A human doctor, too. Done. No dragon-only medical nonsense. Done. And nobody starts speaking in prophecy around my uterus." Cindy lifted one finger. "Can I second that?" "You may." Malrik lowered his head. "You will have whatever you require." The softness in his voice was worse than panic. Panic I could fight. Softness made my throat ache. I pulled my hand back gently. "Okay. Then we get answers." We did not get them that night. We got a dragon healer who came to Sweet Mercy, bowed too deeply, stared too long at my ring, and said the ember was too young to read clearly. We got Moses standing beside him with that calm, sad face that made me want to throw a croissant at him. We got Malrik offering to carry me back to the Eyrie like I was breakable furniture. I told him I had legs. Then I let him carry me anyway, because apparently my pride had limits, and exhaustion was one of them. "I am not moving into a tower," I warranted while his arms closed around me. "There is no tower. Dragon people love technicalities. There is a suite with windows, guards outside, and Cindy in the adjoining room because she threatened my captain with a rolling pin. That did sound like Cindy. At the Eyrie, I slept in a bed big enough for a conference. Malrik did not climb into it until I told him to stop looming by the fireplace like a guilty gargoyle. Even then, he stayed dressed, one arm around my waist, his hand resting near my stomach, but not on it. He did not sleep. I could feel it. Every time I shifted, his breath changed. Every time the ring warmed, his body went still. "Malrik," I mumbled at some point in the dark. "Yes?" "If you keep worrying at that volume, I'm going to smother you with a royal pillow." I am silent. "You are a silent dragon. It has bass." His mouth touched the back of my neck. "Sleep, my queen." I tried. For a few hours I did. Then the cramps woke me before breakfast. At first I thought it was soreness. Last night had been a lot. A beautiful, terrifying, nasty, impossible lot. My pussy had survived dragon sex with dignity, mostly, and I figured maybe dignity came with consequences. Then another cramp twisted low in my belly. Sharp. Wrong. I sat up too fast. Malrik rose with me. What is it? I need the bathroom. He was out of the bed before my feet touched the floor, but he stopped himself from grabbing me. I saw the battle in his hands. Good. Learning looked painful on him. I can walk, I said. He followed me anyway. I shut the bathroom door in his face because marriage did not mean an audience for every bodily event. The floor was cold beneath my feet. The lamps along the stone wall lit as I passed, soft gold and uselessly pretty. Then I saw the blood. Not a little. Not spotting. Blood slicked my thighs, soaked into my underwear, and marked the inside of my nightdress in dark, ugly blooms. For one long second, I just stared. My brain did that cruel human thing where it tried to make the bad thing smaller. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe dragon pregnancy did this. Maybe bodies were dramatic. Another cramp hit. I grabbed the edge of the basin. "Cindy!" I called and hated how thin my voice came out. The door opened behind me so fast it banged the wall. Not Malrik. Cindy. Thank God. She took one look at me and went from sleepy to battlefield nurse in half a breath. "Okay," she said. "Okay, sit down. I'm bleeding. I see it. That feels like something you're supposed to deny." "I don't lie to women in bathrooms." I laughed once, and it came out broken. She helped me sit on the closed lid, then yanked a towel from the shelf and pressed it between my thighs with firm, careful hands. Outside the door, Malrik said my name. Not loud. Worse. Controlled. "Belinda." Cindy looked at me. I swallowed. "Let him in before he removes the wall." The door opened. Malrik stood there barefoot, shirt half-buttoned, hair loose, scale markings burning along his face and throat. His eyes dropped to the blood. The room heated instantly. Every lamp flared. "Do not!" I snapped. His gaze shot to mine. "Do not go murder face in my bathroom. There is nobody here to kill." His nostrils flared. White fire gathered behind his teeth and died there. He lowered himself slowly to his knees in front of me, like kneeling was the only thing keeping him from becoming a disaster. "May I touch you?" he asked. That almost undid me. Yes. His hand covered mine where I held the towel. He did not move it. He just held me. Then he turned his head and spoke in a voice that shook the stone. "Healers. Human doctor. Now." They came fast. Dr. Annika Reed arrived in blue scrubs under a winter coat, hair wrapped in a satin scarf, expression hard enough to cut through the dragon ego. She entered the suite carrying a medical bag and looking at Malrik like he was large furniture in her way. "You Belinda?" she asked. "Yes." "I'm Dr. Reed. I was told royal emergency, possible pregnancy, active bleeding, and too many dragons standing around doing nothing useful. I like you already. No one touches you until you say yes. Not me, not them, not your extremely intense husband." Malrik bowed his head once. Understood. The dragon healer came after her, tall and silver-eyed, with Moses at his side. His name was Soaring, and he looked like he wanted to say something ceremonial. I pointed at him. "If your first sentence is poetry, I'm asking the doctor to sedate you." His mouth closed. Dr. Reed smiled. Good policy. They examined me with more care than I expected, and less nonsense than I feared. Dr. Reed asked every question plainly. Pain, dates, amount of blood, dizziness, fever. Soren held his hands above my abdomen and ring, but did not touch until I nodded. The ring glowed. Gold light spread over my belly, soft and trembling. Malrik made a sound like something had stabbed him. I looked at him. For the first time since the blood, his face changed. Wonder broke through the horror. Just for a heartbeat. Dr. Reed glanced at the test in her hand, then at Soren. Soren swallowed. "There is an ember." My hand went to my stomach before I could stop it. A child. Maybe not yet. Maybe only a spark. A possibility. A tiny, impossible thing made of flower-dusted laughter and dragon fire, and one night where I had said yes with my whole body. My eyes burned. Then Dr. Reed sat beside me on the bed and brought me back to earth. "You are pregnant," she said. "Very early. The bleeding is serious, but it does not automatically mean the pregnancy is ending. It does mean we monitor closely." Soaring's voice was careful. "The child carries the dragon flame. Your body does not have an inner furnace to feed it. The ring appears to be trying to bridge that difference." "Bridge," I repeated. "That sounds expensive." Moses stepped forward. "It may draw from Malrik if guided, but if the ring cannot take enough from him safely, it may draw from you." I looked from one face to another. There it was, the pretty nightmare. "Am I dying?" Malrik flinched. Dr. Reed answered first. "Not right now, but heavy bleeding can become dangerous quickly." "Is the baby dying?" "No one can promise you either way," she said softly. "It is too early." I looked at Soaring. "Can you save both of us? Or is everybody about to stand around speaking poetry while I bleed?" Soaring lowered his eyes. "We can try. We cannot guarantee." The room went quiet. Malrik stood at the foot of the bed, fists clenched, wings half-formed behind him, like his body could not decide whether to protect or destroy. But he did not command me, did not tell the healers what I would do, did not lock the door and call it love. He came to my side and knelt again. "What do you choose?" he asked. That question hurt more than an order would have, because it made it mine. My fear, my body, my maybe child, my risk. I pressed my hand against my stomach and tried to breathe around the sharp, impossible want rising inside me. "I want to try," I said. Malrik closed his eyes. "But," I added. They opened again. "If I get worse, you tell me the truth. If Dr. Reed says my life is in danger, you listen. If I choose to stop, you stand with me, not the throne, not your court. Me." His throat worked. "Yes. And if it comes down to me dying for a pregnancy my body cannot carry, you do not turn me into a martyr." My voice cracked, but I kept going. "You hear me?" The fire in his eyes shook. "I do not know how to promise that." "Then learn before I need you to." For a moment he looked like I had asked him to cut out his own heart and hand it over. Then he bent his head over my bloodied hand and kissed my knuckles. "I promise," he said, each word dragged from somewhere deep and brutal. "I will not make your body a shrine to my grief." My chest broke open quietly. Cindy sat on my other side and took my free hand. Outside the windows, morning light crept over the mountain. Breakfast bells rang somewhere far below, and inside me, small as a match in a storm, the ember burned. By the 5th day, I had learned 3 things. 1. Dragon healers loved saying rest like it was a spell instead of a suggestion designed by people who did not own bakeries. 2. Bleeding while pregnant made everybody look at you like you were both a miracle and a crime scene. And 3. Malrik did not understand tea. He understood war, fire, ancient law, territorial dominance, and how to tear a dragon out of the sky by the throat. But tea had humbled him. He stood in Sweet Mercy's kitchen with his black sleeves rolled to his elbows, staring down at 3 cups like they had insulted his ancestors. Cindy leaned against the prep table, arms folded. "You cannot threaten chamomile into steeping faster." Malrik did not look away from the cups. "It should obey the heat. It is a leaf. I have conquered mountains. And yet, I sat in my new throne." That was not what anyone called it out loud, because I had threatened bodily harm, but that was exactly what it was. Malrik had commissioned a chair for behind the counter at Sweet Mercy, after Dr. Reed said I could work only if I stayed seated, hydrated, and stopped pretending cramps were spicy thoughts. The chair was ridiculous. Black wood, gold accents, cushions soft enough to make me suspicious. It fit behind the register only because Derek moved the extra napkin stand and complained for 20 straight minutes about royal furniture gentrifying the workspace. I had a blanket over my lap, a ledger open in front of me, and a heating pad against my lower belly. My ring glowed faintly beneath the edge of the blanket, pulsing every so often like it was checking attendance. Inside me, the little ember flickered. Still there, still ours, still terrifying. Malrik brought me one of the cups with the seriousness of a man delivering a peace treaty. I took a sip. Hot water, honey, ginger, and enough mint to make my sinuses see God. I coughed. "Baby, did you season this with a forest?" His face tightened. "Is it wrong?" Cindy pressed her lips together and failed at silence. "It's not wrong," I said carefully. "It's just aggressive. The ginger is for sickness. The mint is for calm. The honey is for strength." "And the taste of lawnmower?" His shoulders lowered a fraction. "I will remake it." I caught his wrist before he could turn away. His skin was warm under my fingers, the scale markings along his forearm dimmed but present. "I'm teasing you." "I know." "No, you don't. You look like I rejected your bloodline." His gold eyes dropped to my hand on him. I wished to do one thing correctly. There it was, that quiet thing that kept opening under his ribs since the morning I found blood on my thighs. Not rage, not command. Something worse. Helplessness. Malrik hated it like an enemy he could smell but not bite. I squeezed his wrist. "You are doing several things correctly. The tea just tastes like it came with orders." A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "Drink. See? Orders. Request. Barely. But I drank. Because it was warm. Because my stomach had been turning all morning. Because he watched the cup like love could steep in it if he got the timing right. Sweet mercy ran around me. Cindy handled espresso, Melon boxed cupcakes. Derek argued with a dragon guard who wanted to pay for a brownie with an emerald the size of a jawbreaker. "We take cash, card, and reasonable gold," Derek said. "I am not appraising gemstones before noon." The dragon looked offended. "This emerald belonged to my grandmother." "Then your grandmother would want you to use Apple Pay." I laughed, then winced when pain pulled low through my belly. Malrik's head snapped toward me. So did every dragon guard in the room. I lifted one hand. "If everybody reacts to my uterus like a smoke alarm, I'm going to start charging admission." Malrik came around the counter anyway. He crouched in front of me, uncaring that customers stared. "Pain? Cramp. How strong?" "Annoying, not dramatic." "Blood? Not since this morning." His jaw clenched at the words. This morning had been bad. Not emergency bad. Dr. Reed had called it concerning but stable, which was doctor language for "I do not like this, but I am not running yet." Soaring had hovered his hands over my stomach, while the ring glowed, and the ember answered weakly, stubbornly. My body had fought. That was what I kept telling myself. Not failed, fought. Malrik's hand hovered near my knee. Waiting. I nodded. He covered my knee through the blanket, his thumb moving once. Heat spread carefully, easing the cramp without pushing deeper. He had learned that too. Dragon warmth could help, but too much made the ring flare and my skin prickle. Everything now had limits. Everything needed permission. Even comfort. Especially comfort. "Better?" he asked. "A little. I can carry you back to the Eyrie. And I can stab you with a butter knife." His eyes lifted. "The butter knives are dull." "I'll put effort into it." Cindy appeared with a clean towel and that look she had developed since this started, the look of a woman prepared to fight kings, gods, and customer complaints. "You've done 3 hours," she said. "Dr. Reed said 2. Dr. Reed is bossy. Dr. Reed is right. I dislike this friendship betrayal. You'll survive." Bold promise. Malrik went still. The joke dropped wrong. I saw it hit him, saw the way his face closed around it. "Damn. I'm sorry," I said softly. His throat moved. "Do not apologize for speaking." That was not speaking. That was my mouth running into traffic. He bent his head and pressed his forehead against my knee, just for a second. The entire bakery pretended not to watch, and failed. I rested my hand in his hair. Dark strands slid between my fingers, warm from him, soft as silk. This massive, terrifying creature knelt at my feet in a bakery, while I bled into pads under a blanket and pretended paperwork could hold the world together. Love was embarrassing. Love was brutal. Love made a dragon lord learn tea. That evening, the bleeding came again. I was back at the Eyrie by then, in the bathing room, sitting on the edge of the tub while warm water steamed around the stone. I had wanted privacy until my legs shook hard enough to make pride impractical. Malrik did not flinch when he saw the blood. That mattered. Men loved bodies until bodies became inconvenient, until blood was not sexy, until pain interrupted desire, until the same thighs they wanted around their hips needed washing, because something inside had gone wrong. Malrik knelt on the tile with a basin and a cloth. He cleaned me like I was holy and wounded and still desirable, all at once. Not once did his face twist in disgust. Not once did he look away. His hands trembled only when he thought I would not notice. I noticed everything. "Look at you," I murmured, exhausted and aching. "Dragon Lord, midwife, tea-boy." His mouth touched the inside of my knee. "For you, yes." I stared at him until my eyes burned. You cannot keep acting like devotion is supposed to be this beautiful when I'm wearing hospital underwear. His gaze rose to mine, gold and raw. "You are beautiful." "I am leaking." "You are fighting." My breath caught. He went back to washing my legs, careful between my thighs, careful over skin that felt too sensitive and not mine enough. There was nothing sexual in it, and somehow that made it more intimate than his mouth on my pussy had been. This was no fantasy. No fogged bakery windows, no half-shifted wings, no hot dick and gold fire and laughter into his shoulder. This was blood. This was fear. This was him learning that my body was not only a place for his pleasure or his air or his hunger. It was me. He laid a warm towel over my lap, dragon-warmed, perfect temperature, no burn. "You are getting good at that," I said. "I practice when you sleep." "Of course you do." "I have burned 27 towels." I blinked. "Malrik, they were poor quality towels. They were probably expensive. They died with purpose." I laughed, and the sound cracked open the heavy air. He looked relieved enough to break my heart all over again. The court did not laugh. The court whispered. By the end of the week, Julius started bringing reports with his mouth pressed into a line so thin, I knew somebody had said something stupid and survived only because paperwork arrived first. I sat in the Aries sun chamber with a plate of toast, my herbal assault tea, and Cindy beside me painting her nails gold, because she said if she had to live in a dragon palace, she was going to accessorize her trauma. Malrik stood by the window, watching the sky like he expected Ravok to crawl out of a cloud. Julius entered and bowed. I sighed. "How bad?" He looked at Malrik first. I snapped my fingers. "No, my uterus, my gossip." Julius adjusted his spectacles. "Several elders have petitioned for a formal inquiry into the stability of the royal line." Cindy looked up. "That sounds like bullshit in a nice coat." "It is," Julius said. "I liked him more every day." Malrik's voice went low. "Names." "No," I said. He did not move, but the room heated. I turned toward him. "Malrik. They speak of you as weakness. They speak because they have mouths and insufficient hobbies. They call the child corruption." My hand tightened around my tea. The ring warmed, not warning this time. Comfort. Cindy's face went hard. Julius looked murderous in a very scholarly way. Malrik turned from the window, and white fire moved behind his eyes. "They say if you die, the throne opens to challenge. They say a human queen bleeding is an omen. They say the ember should be ended before it stains dragon blood." Silence took the room by the throat. For one moment, I saw what he wanted. Not justice, slaughter. Clean, bright, royal slaughter. Bodies on black stone. Tongues cut from whispering mouths. Houses burned until nobody dared speak of my blood again. The dark part of me, the tired, hurting part, wanted to let him. Just for one breath. Then I saw a different thing. A court with no change. A queen protected into silence. A husband praised for vengeance because grief had made him easy to obey. No. If you murder every person who says something stupid about my uterus, I said, voice rough, there will be 6 dragons left by Friday. Malrik's expression did not soften. 6 may be enough. Not for a functioning government. I care less for the government than I do for you. And I care about not ruling over ashes because somebody hurt my feelings with vocabulary. His jaw worked. I set my cup down. They want you angry. They want me hidden. They want the pregnancy to become a throne issue instead of a private medical one. So we are not giving them that. Julius nodded slowly. There is strategy in restraint. Malrik did not look at him. I am weary of restraint. I know, I said. And I did. He had learned to wait for desire. Now he had to wait through fear, through blood, through doctors saying maybe, through my body making decisions neither of us could command. It was eating him alive. I held out my hand. He crossed the room and took it. I am still here, I told him. His fingers closed around mine like he could anchor me by grip alone. For how long? There it was, the question under everything. I did not lie. I don't know. Pain moved through his face so quickly someone else might have missed it. I did not. But today, I said, I'm here today. His forehead lowered to our joined hands. Before he could answer, the warning horn sounded. Once, then again. Deep, violent, close enough to shake dust from the ceiling. Malrik's head snapped up. Julius turned toward the door. Cindy stood so fast her nail polish spilled across the table like liquid gold. My ring flared hot. A guard burst into the chamber, armor scorched, one cheek marked with black-red ash. My lord, he said, breath ragged. Red throat has struck. Malrik's wings tore half free from his back. Where? The guard swallowed. 2 places at once. Sweet mercy. My heart stopped. And the lower nursery. For one terrible second, nobody spoke. Then Malrik looked at me. I saw the trap land between us. Wife or people, bakery or children, my blood or his throne. Ravok had chosen his knife well. I pushed the blanket off my lap and stood before anyone could tell me not to. Pain bit low and mean. I held onto the table until it passed. Malrik moved toward me. Belinda. No. My voice shook, but it held. Get my boots. His eyes burned. You are bleeding. And children are burning. The ring answered me with a fierce gold pulse. I lifted my chin. Get my boots.
For one breath I did not move. Every old law in my blood rose up roaring. Take her, hide her, lock the doors, chain the mountain, let the world burn without her. Belinda stood with one hand braced on the table, her deep brown face tight with pain, her braids falling over one shoulder, her ring burning gold like it had chosen war before I had. Beneath the scent of smoke and warning horns, I smelled her blood. And under that, smaller than hope, the ember. Our child. My claws cut through my palms. Malrik, she said lower now, do not make me fight you too. That struck harder than any blade. I turned, took her boots from beside the chair and knelt. The room went silent except for the warning horn groaning through the mountain. I slid one boot onto her foot, then the other, fastening the buckles with hands that could crush stone and somehow shook over leather straps. She looked down at me. Thank you. I wanted to tell her I hated her courage. I wanted to tell her I loved it. I wanted to tell her that if she fell from this, if her body opened around that little ember because Ravok had chosen this hour to bleed my world, I would become a monster the old songs were afraid to name. Instead, I rose. "Julius," I said. He straightened. "My lord." "Send Captain Veros to Sweet Mercy with 12 wings. Seal the street. No red throat leaves breathing unless they are needed for questioning." Belinda's eyes narrowed. I corrected myself through my teeth. "Alive if possible. Progress," she muttered. "Cindy," I said. Cindy had already grabbed a knife from the breakfast tray and looked offended that no one had handed her armor. "I'm going to the bakery. You will go with Julius through the inner gate. You do not step beyond shield glass." "I work there. You bleed there and Belinda will rise from a sickbed to murder us both." Belinda pointed at Cindy. "He's right, stay behind the glass, menace people from safety." Cindy cursed but nodded. Another horn blast shook the chamber. The guard at the door swallowed. "The nursery wards are failing." Belinda's hand went to her stomach. I felt the decision in her before she spoke. "Nursery first," she said. My dragon agreed with vicious certainty. Children, hatchlings, those too young to fly. Ravok had not only challenged my throne, he had reached for cradles. There would be no mercy in the sky. I lifted Belinda into my arms. She did not protest this time, and her body was hot with fevered strain and cold with blood loss in places that terrified me. Her fingers gripped my shirt. "If I tell you to land, you land," she said. "Yes. If I tell you I can keep going, I will argue." "Malrik, I will argue and obey. That's acceptable." I carried her to the outer ledge while the Aerie convulsed around us. Dragons ran for armor and weapons, mothers screamed for young, fire masters opened the lower vents, sending controlled gold flame into the ward lines. The sky beyond the ledge was stained black-red. Not smoke. War. I set Belinda down only long enough to shift. The change took me like violence. Bones broke and were remade. My spine lengthened, my skin split under scales black as a starless sky edged in molten gold. Wings tore free wide enough to darken the ledge. White fire flooded my throat until the stone beneath my claws steamed. Belinda stood before me with her chin lifted, afraid, bleeding, still standing. I lowered my head until my snout touched the ground before her. "Climb, my queen." The ring flared, throwing my voice into her mind. She put one hand on my scaled cheek. "If you drop me, I'm haunting your ass." Despite everything, something in me almost laughed. I would deserve it. Gold straps bloomed from her ring as she climbed, wrapping around her waist and thighs, anchoring her to the ridge between my shoulders. I felt every tremor in her legs, felt the careful way she settled to avoid pain. Then we launched. The mountain fell beneath us. Wind slammed over my wings. Belinda bent low against my neck, her hands locked around my scales. I did not fly for wonder now. I flew like a blade thrown by God. The lower nursery burned on the eastern shelf. Its wards shimmered gold, cracked through with black-red veins. Red-throat dragons circled it in savage arcs, smaller and faster than my guard, their throats glowing like poisoned coals. 2 of my sentries lay torn across the nursery roof. Dragon blood ran down the stone in smoking streams. Beyond the ridge, a second column of fire rose from the city. Sweet mercy. My wife's heart kicked against my back. I sent a command through the wing bond. "Report." Veros answered through smoke and distance. "Sweet mercy holds, fireproof glass intact, humans inside. Derek wounded but alive. Enemy trying to breach from roof." Belinda exhaled hard. "Derek better not die owing me money." "He lives." "Good. Nursery." Ravok came out of the smoke like an old curse. He was larger than Kieran, broader through the chest, his scales a dark iron red that looked almost black where old scars crossed them. One horn was broken. The other had been wrapped in bone rings. His throat glowed with that forbidden black-red fire, but deeper than Kieran's had been. Stronger. Ancient hate with wings. His voice rolled across the sky. White flame. I answered by burning 3 of his fighters out of the air. My white fire cut through them clean. Wings vanished. Bodies fell in pieces, flaming before they struck the rocks below. Ravok laughed. The sound crawled over my scales. "You brought the leaking human into battle," he called. "Does she bleed your air out on your back?" Belinda went rigid. The dragon inside me broke its chain. I hit Ravok hard enough to crack the air. We slammed through a bank of smoke and into the side of the mountain. Stone exploded around us. My claws sank into his shoulder. His teeth found my neck, tearing scales loose. Pain flashed hot and bright. I drove my horn into his ribs. He twisted, older and cleverer than rage, and raked his hind claws across my wing membrane. Blood sprayed into the wind. Belinda gasped behind me. I folded the damaged wing, rolled, and caught the air with the other before we dropped too far. Red throat fighters swarmed, thinking the wound gave them courage. I taught them the difference between courage and stupidity. One lost his head between my jaws. Another I split from throat to belly with my claws. A third breathed black-red fire toward Belinda. I turned my body around her and took it across my side. The fire bit wrong, not ordinary clan flame. This had been altered with bone ash, oath rot, old forbidden magic that should have been buried with the cowards who invented it. It clung to my scales and chewed at the gold edges. Ravok had come prepared to burn through protections. To burn through her ring. A scream rose from the nursery. One of the outer cradles had been shattered. A hatchling tumbled from the broken ledge, wings too small to catch air, scales soft gold-brown and still downy at the edges. I dove. So did 2 red-throat dragons. I would not reach the child first. Belinda moved. "No!" Her ring flashed so bright it hurt through my skull. Gold fire leapt from her hand, forming a shield beneath the falling hatchling. The little body hit the shield and bounced once, caught in a bowl of light. One red-throat dragon slammed into it and broke his neck. The other opened his jaws and poured black-red flame over the gold. The shield held. Then the cursed fire wrapped around it like a living chain and ran back along the stream of power. Straight into Belinda, her pain tore through the bond. Not sound, not thought. Pain. Her scream shredded the sky. Fire burned across her right arm and side, eating through fabric, biting into skin. I felt it as if my own flesh had opened, felt the ring fight, felt the little ember inside her recoil, flickering under the assault. Something in me went silent. Then the world turned white. I do not remember choosing targets. I remember bodies. I remember my claws inside a dragon's chest, closing around the heart before I tore it free. I remember biting through wing bone and spitting it into the smoke. I remember white fire pouring from me in sheets, not flame but judgment, burning red throat fire out of the air, burning screams into nothing, burning Ravok's name from every throat that dared speak. The sky emptied around me. Ravok retreated only when half his warband fell. His laugh came ragged through the smoke. "Bleed, little queen, bleed until his throne floats in it." I lunged after him. Belinda's hand struck my neck, weak, insistent. "Malrik," she gasped. "Child!" The hatchling and the nursery, her. I stopped. It took everything in me. Ravok vanished into black-red smoke beyond the ridge, and I let him go because my wife was burning on my back and the gold shield below still held a crying hatchling. I caught the shield in my claws and landed on the nursery shelf so hard the stone split. Dragons scattered from my path. I lowered myself, frantic to get Belinda down without tearing her further. The ring released its straps slowly, like it too was wounded. She slid toward my foreleg and I shifted before she hit the ground. Not fully. I could not afford the time. My body broke into a half-form, man-shaped through the torso, wings still dragging behind me, claws black and curved, scales plaited over my shoulders. I caught her against my chest. Blood soaked the lower half of her dress. Burns crawled over her right side and arm, angry black-red lines eating at the edges. Her teeth were clenched so hard I heard them grind. "Look at me," I said. Her eyes found mine, bright with pain, furious. "Did we catch the baby dragon?" A sound left me that was almost a sob and almost a growl. "Yes." "Good." She swallowed. "Then fix this shit." Moses dropped beside us, smoke-stained and grim. Soaring arrived behind him with 2 nursery healers carrying the rescued hatchling. Moses looked at Belinda's burn, then at the ring. His face tightened. "Forbidden flame," he said. "I know. It has bitten into the bridge." "I know." Belinda's fingers dug into my wrist. "Stop talking like I'm not here." I bent over her. "I can heal the burn through the ring. It will hurt." She gave a broken laugh. "Everything hurts. It may draw on the ember." "No," I snarled. Moses held my gaze. "If you pour too much white fire into her directly, you may kill her. The ring must temper it." Belinda breathed through another cramp. Blood slid warm over my hand where I held her hip. The scent of it nearly unmade me. She looked up at me. "Do it. My queen, do it before I change my mind and start screaming at you for real." I pressed my forehead to hers. "I am here. You better be." I opened my fire, not the destroying flame, not the war flame still begging to chase Ravok across the horizon and tear his spine from his back. The other part, the harder part. White fire entered the ring in a thin stream. The gold band flared, then dimmed, then flared again. Belinda arched against me with a cry that cut through my bones. Her skin began to mend. Dragon healing was not gentle, it was a command, flame forcing flesh to remember itself. Burned edges closed, blistered skin smoothed. The black-red curse hissed as my fire met it, fighting like a living thing. I held back the part of me that was destroyed. Held back. Held back. Belinda sobbed once into my shoulder and bit down on my skin hard enough to draw blood. "Good," I whispered. "Bite me, hurt me, stay." The ring drank more. Too much. Its gold light thinned. In her belly the little ember flickered, small, afraid, and I felt it, so did she. Her eyes opened. "Malrik?" I stopped the fire at once. The burn was closed, but her blood had not stopped. It spread beneath her, dark against the broken stone, too much, too fast. Soaring dropped to his knees, hands hovering over her abdomen. Moses cursed softly, the first curse I had ever heard from him. Belinda's hand found mine over her stomach. The ring gave one weak pulse. Then another. Then the ember inside her shivered like a candle in the wind. My army was shouting around us, sweet mercy still burned in the distance. Ravok had escaped. The nursery cried with frightened young. And I, Malrik of the White Flame, knelt in blood with my wife in my arms and understood there was still nothing in this world I could kill to save her from what came next.
Pain had a language. Mine spoke in teeth. It bit low in my belly, deep and mean, dragging me up out of whatever healing sleep they had forced on me. For a second I did not know where I was. I smelled smoke, stone, herbs, hot metal, and Malrik. Then I smelled blood. Mine. I opened my eyes. The ceiling above me was black mountain glass, veined with gold. The healing chamber. Not my suite, not sweet mercy. Not anywhere that meant ordinary life still existed. A wet warmth spread beneath my hips. No. My hand went to my stomach before the rest of me caught up. The ring on my finger gave one weak pulse. Just one. Cindy sat beside the bed, her braids tied up messily, both hands wrapped around mine like she had been holding me in place by force. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but she did not cry when she saw me wake. That was Cindy. She saved the falling apart for places with locked doors. "Hey," she said softly. My mouth felt dry. "How bad?" Her fingers tightened. I hated that answer. Another cramp rolled through me, harder this time, so sharp my back bowed off the bed. I sucked in a breath and heard myself make a sound I did not recognize. Cindy was on her feet instantly. "Dr. Reed." The chamber moved around me. Dr. Reed appeared on one side of the bed, sleeves rolled up, face set in that calm doctor way that meant she had already put fear in a box and locked it somewhere useful. Soaring stood on the other side, silver eyes fixed on my ring. Moses hovered behind him, grave and quiet, his hands stained with ash from the nursery fires. And Malrik stood at the foot of the bed like something carved from rage and ruin. He was back in his human shape, mostly. Too tall, too still. Scale markings covered one side of his throat and disappeared under his torn shirt. Blood dried black along his temple, his chest, his forearms. Some of it was his. Most of it probably wasn't. His gold eyes were on my stomach. "Belinda," Dr. Reed said, drawing my attention back with a voice that did not allow panic to run the room. "You're bleeding heavily again. I need to examine you." "Do it." "No poetry," I added, turning my head toward Soaring. His mouth pressed tight. "No poetry." Good. We were learning. They worked fast. Efficient hands, warm cloths. A pad changed. A bowl taken away. Dr. Reed asked me about pain and pressure and dizziness. I answered because words were easier than screaming, and I refused to let this room turn me into a silent body everyone discussed like furniture. The cramps came again. This time I grabbed for Malrik. He was at my side before I finished reaching. His hand closed around mine, careful despite the claws trying to split from his fingers. I felt him shaking. That scared me worse than the blood. Malrik did not shake. Not for armies. Not for council threats. Not for dragons breathing black-red fire into his sky. But he shook for me. For the little ember inside me that was flickering weaker and weaker beneath his palm. Soaring held his hands above my belly. Gold light lifted from my ring in a thin, trembling thread. It reached inward, searching. I felt it. God help me. I felt it. That small spark, that tiny impossible heat that had become real the moment they told me it was there. It was dim. "Say it," I whispered. Dr. Reed looked at Soaring. "I hated that too. Say it to me." Soaring swallowed. "The ember is failing." The room went quiet. No one breathed right. I stared at the ceiling because if I looked at Malrik, I might split open in a way no healer could close. "Can you stop it?" I asked. Dr. Reed's hand settled on my shoulder. "We are trying to keep you safe." That is not what I asked. "No," she said, voice soft but honest. "I don't think we can stop it." Something inside me went very still. Not calm. Never calm. Just still. Like the part of me that would have screamed had stepped out of the room because there was too much blood on the floor. Malrik bent over me, his hair falling forward, his face terrifying in its restraint. "Let me try." Soren's head snapped up. "My lord." "Through the ring," Malrik said. "Not into her body. Through the ring." Moses stepped closer. "Your fire healed the burn, but the bridge is damaged. If you force more." "I will not force." The words were for me, not them. His eyes locked on mine. "I will not force, Belinda. I ask." There he was again, destroying me with the one thing he had learned. Permission. A dragon lord who could have commanded the mountain to kneel was asking a bleeding woman for the right to hope. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to go back to yesterday when my biggest problem was whether Malrik had put too much mint in tea like a man trying to season a battlefield. I wanted my bakery. I wanted my body not to be a war zone. I wanted the little ember to stay. "Try," I said. Malrik pressed his forehead to my hand. "If it hurts too much, I'll tell you. And I will stop. You better. His mouth touched my knuckles. Then he lifted my hand and placed the ring over my lower belly. White fire woke beneath his skin. Not the fire from battle. Not the kind that ate wings and burned dragons from the sky. This was quieter, more controlled. So controlled it looked like it hurt him to hold it gently. The ring brightened. For one heartbeat, warmth spread through me. Not pain. Warmth. Like an oven before bread went in, like hands around a mug. Like Malrik's body against mine after closing, when the bakery windows had fogged, and I had laughed because insurance did not cover dragon lust. Then the warmth pushed deeper. My body clenched around it. I cried out. Malrik stopped immediately. No, I gasped. Keep going. His face twisted. Belinda, keep going. He did. The ring drew his fire in a thin, gold-white thread. It slipped into me, searching for the ember. I felt it brush that tiny spark. For a second, the ember answered. Small, brave, ours. Then it guttered. Malrik made a broken sound through his teeth. He sent more fire, still careful, still holding back the part of himself that destroyed. His hand shook so hard against my stomach, I covered it with mine. Come on, I whispered, though I did not know who I was begging. The ring, the child, my body. God. Come on, baby. The ember flickered once more. Then it went quiet. No sound came after. Not from me, not from Malrik, not from anyone. There should have been thunder. The mountain should have cracked. The sky should have fallen into the healing chamber and buried us all. Instead, there was just my breathing. Uneven, wet at the edges, human. Dr. Reed's hand tightened on my shoulder. Soaring lowered his hands. Malrik stared at my stomach like he could frighten life back into it. Again, he said. Moses closed his eyes. Malrik. Again. I turned my head toward him. No. He did not seem to hear me. White fire gathered at his throat, bright and dangerous, grief sharpening it into something wild. Again. Malrik. His eyes snapped to mine. I did not recognize the look in them. Or maybe I did. Maybe this was what a dragon looked like when the world gave him pain without a throat to tear out. It's gone, I said. His whole body recoiled. Not from me, from the truth. I hated the words the second they left me. But I knew. My body knew. The ring knew. The little place inside me where that ember had been felt empty, in a way that had weight. Malrik lowered himself beside the bed. Not gracefully. He dropped. His forehead came to rest against my stomach, above the blood, above the loss. His enormous hand spread there like he could still guard what was no longer inside. No roar, no fire, just one silent shake through his shoulders. That was what broke me. Not the blood, not the pain, not even the final weak pulse of the ring. Him, trying to grieve quietly because he was afraid his grief would hurt me too. I put my hand in his hair. My fingers trembled. A sob climbed out of me, ugly and raw, and Cindy climbed onto the bed before anyone could stop her. She wrapped herself around my side, careful of my burn, and cried into my shoulder, like she had permission now. Maybe we all did. After, there were practical things. There were always practical things. Clean sheets, medicine. Dr. Reed checking my bleeding again. Soaring murmuring low instructions to the nursery healers. Moses feeding a small controlled flame into the chamber hearth because my temperature kept dropping. Cindy wiping my face with a cloth and telling me my mascara was a war crime. I laughed once. It sounded terrible. But it was mine. At some point, I looked at Soarin. Was it a boy or a girl? The healer went still. Dragon grief moved across his face, old and formal and useless. At this stage, he said carefully, there is no way to know. I nodded. My throat hurt. Then they were just ours. Malrik's hand closed around mine. hard enough to hurt. Not too hard. Never too hard anymore. Dr. Reed stayed until the bleeding slowed from terrifying to merely cruel. She told me what to expect in plain language. More blood, more cramps, weakness, fever signs to watch for. She did not soften it into something pretty. I loved her for that. When the room finally emptied, Cindy refused to leave until I threatened to fire her and promote Melon to emotional support manager. "You wouldn't," she said. "I'm grieving. I'm unpredictable." She kissed my forehead and left, crying again before the door fully closed. Then it was only Malrik and me. He had not moved far from the bed. He sat on the floor beside me, back against the stone, one hand still holding mine. The lord of white fire reduced to a man on cold tile because the bed held too much blood and too much hurt. "I did this," he said. I closed my eyes. No. My fire, my bloodline, my enemies, my war. "My body did not fail," I said, opening my eyes again. "My body fought for both of us until it couldn't fight anymore." His jaw clenched. "Do you hear me?" He did not answer. I tugged his hand weakly. "Malrik." His gaze lifted. "Do not make my body your enemy. It fought harder than anyone in this mountain." His face collapsed then, only for a second. Long enough for me to see the man under the dragon, the husband under the crown, the helplessness he had been surviving since that first blood before breakfast. He turned his face into my palm. "I do not know where to put this," he whispered. The honesty of that hurt more than any lie. "I know. There is no one to kill for it. There are people to kill for other things," I said, because I knew him. I could already smell the smoke gathering in his soul. "But not for this. Not for my body. Not for them." "Them," he repeated, voice breaking on the smallest word. "Our little ember," I said. His eyes burned wet gold. For a long time we stayed like that. No throne, no court, no war horns, just us, and the space where a possibility had been. Then, far beyond the chamber walls, another horn sounded. Low. Warning. Ravok was still out there. The red throat had burned children's cradles, attacked my bakery, and turned my pregnancy into a battlefield. The miscarriage was not punishment. It was not weakness. But the men who had poured fire over a nursery still had names, bodies, throats. Malrik looked toward the door. I felt him change before he moved, not away from grief, into it. "Belinda," he said. "I know." His hand tightened around mine. "If I go now, you come back as my husband," I said, not just as a monster with wings. White fire slid behind his eyes, dangerous, beautiful, barely leashed. "I will try." I hated that he did not promise. I loved that he did not lie. He rose slowly, bent over me and kissed my forehead with a tenderness that felt like a wound. Then he stepped toward the door, and the shadows of his wings followed him.
Belinda told me to come back as her husband, not just as a monster with wings. I carried those words out of the healing chamber like a blade under my ribs. Behind me she lay in blood and grief, her body emptied of the little ember we had not known long enough and had loved anyway. Cindy's muffled crying followed me until the stone door closed. Then there was only the horn, low and furious, rolling through the airy. Julius waited in the corridor with ash on his robes and murder in his scholar's eyes. "Red Throat has withdrawn past the eastern furnace line," he said. "They are gathering in the Black Salt Gorge. Ravok?" "Unconfirmed." I kept walking. Moses stepped into my path. "Brave man." "My lord," he said quietly, "if you go as you are now, you may not return as yourself." White fire moved under my skin. "Move." He did not. For one breath I considered removing him from the corridor, not killing him, not Moses, but moving him through stone if he forced me to. Then he said, She asked you to try. Belinda. Always Belinda. Bleeding, laughing, furious, warm beneath my hands, her voice rough with pain as she told me her body had fought. Not failed, fought. I stepped around Moses. That is why I am not killing you for standing in my way. Outside, the ledge waited under a black sky. Wind tore at my hair. Below, the mountain glowed with alarm fires. Dragons watched from balconies and archways, their faces tight with expectation. They wanted their lord, their weapon, their white flame. I gave them the monster first. The shift ripped through me without grace. Bones cracked, wings tore free, scales rolled over my skin, black-edged in gold, my jaw lengthened around teeth made for judgment. White fire filled my throat until the ledge beneath my claws smoked. The court fell back. Good. Fear was honest. I launched into the night. The war wing followed at a distance. Veros, 3 captains, 32 battle dragons. I felt their formation behind me like sparks trailing a storm. None came close. None wished to burn. I flew faster than mercy. The Black Salt Gorge split the eastern range like an old wound. Red Throat territory had always been ugly. Jagged ridges, sulfur vents, caves cut deep into iron-black stone. Their fires burned red beneath the ground, hungry and unstable. Tonight, black-red flame pulsed through the gorge. Forbidden flame. Bone ash, oath rot, dead magic stolen from graves and fed into clan fire. They had used it on my wife, on the nursery, on a hatchling too young to understand why the sky wanted him dead. My grief opened its mouth. Burn them all. The thought came clean, simple, beautiful. Burn every cave, every tower, every throat that had carried Ravok's name. Melt their eggs in the shell. Turn the gorge to glass, leave nothing for history but a warning. White fire gathered behind my teeth. Red Throat sentries spotted me too late. One sounded a horn. I answered with flame. The watchtower vanished, not collapsed, vanished. Stone, iron, dragon bone, and 3 warriors wearing Ravok's black-red mark burned into white nothing. The gorge screamed awake. Dragons poured from the caves. Some shifted mid-leap, wings snapping wide. Others ran in half-form with blades hooked to their wrists. I fell on them like the mountain had decided to hate. A warrior lunged for my neck. I took his head in my jaws and crushed until his skull split. Another fired black-red flame at my chest. I tore through it, caught him by the wing, and ripped the membrane from bone. He dropped, shrieking into a sulfur vent. I did not watch him die. There were more. There were always more. My claws opened bellies, my tail broke spines. White fire cut through Red Throat flame and left bodies smoking on the rocks. Veros and the war wings struck behind me, disciplined where I was wrath, driving fighters down from the upper caves and pinning escape routes. A commander in Iron Throat armor shouted, "For Ravok!" I landed on him. His body burst beneath my claws. "For the Queen!" I snarled, though in dragon form the words came out as thunder and flame. "For the nursery, for the child you helped murder." More came, more died. Then the gorge opened below me. Not a battlefield, a settlement. Workers huddled near collapsed smelting sheds. Young dragons crouched under carts. Mothers wrapped wings over hatchlings. Old ones knelt with their hands raised, eyes wide and shining in the firelight. Humans, too. Servants, bonded mates, laborers dragged into dragon wars because monsters like Ravok always needed softer bodies to stand behind. My fire was already rising. One breath. That was all it would take. One breath and grief would have shape. One breath and no whisper about Belinda's womb would ever come from Red Throat again. No commander. No coward, no child raised on Ravok's hate. A hatchling stumbled from beneath a broken awning. Gold-brown scales, soft-edged wings, too small, like the one Belinda had shielded in the sky while enemy fire burned through her arm and side. The hatchling spread those ridiculous little wings in front of a woman clutching a basket of bandages, as if he could stop me, as if his tiny body could hold back white fire. My throat burned, the fire begged. Belinda was not there, no hand on my neck, no voice telling me not to be stupid. No sharp mouth saying if I murdered everyone who said something stupid, there would be 6 dragons left by Friday. Only me, only the monster, only the choice. Her words rose anyway. Do not make my body your enemy. Come back as my husband, not just as a monster with wings. The fire tore at me when I swallowed it. Pain lanced down my chest. White flame was not meant to be denied once called. It wanted release. It wanted obedience. It wanted the simplicity of ashes. I forced it back. The gorge shook with the sound of my restraint. The hatchling cried. I lowered my head until every red throat survivor could see my teeth. Those who wore Ravok's mark and crossed my borders will kneel, I said, my voice rolling through stone and bone. Those who struck sweet mercy will kneel. Those who burned the nursery will kneel. Those who touched forbidden flame will kneel. No one moved. I let white fire leak between my teeth. Or I will stop choosing. They knelt. Not all. The guilty rarely knew how to survive wisdom. 7 warriors broke left toward a lower tunnel. Pharaohs cut off 3. I burned 2 from the air. The last pair shifted and tried to shield themselves behind workers. I killed them without touching the workers. That took more skill, more control, more hatred. By the time the gorge quieted, 43 red throat fighters lay dead. 16 commanders knelt in chains of heated black iron, their throat marks exposed. 3 fire masters were dragged from a hidden furnace with bone ash under their claws and forbidden sigils carved into their tongues. I wanted them dead. I left them breathing, barely. Julius would need witnesses. Belinda would need law. I descended into Ravok's war chamber in human shape because some places deserved to see my face. The chamber had been abandoned in haste. Maps covered the stone table. Sweet Mercy was marked in red, the nursery in black, the airy court in a circle of bone dust. Beside it lay letters sealed in Ember House copper. Sheba's faction. Not all of Ember House, perhaps, but enough. Julius would skin meaning from every line. I found a strip of black glass propped against Ravok's chair. Words had been burned into it with poisoned fire. Let the human queen stand before the court if she dares. I will take the corrupted ring from her living hand and show the clans what your mercy costs. My claws slid from my fingers, so Ravok had run, not away, ahead. He wanted spectacle. He wanted Belinda wounded, grieving, watched. He wanted the court to see him challenge the ring while whispers about her body still hung in the air. He had mistaken grief for weakness, and he had mistaken mercy for softness. I closed my fist around the glass until it cut me. Veros entered behind me. My lord. Chain the commanders. Carry the evidence. Feed the prisoners. Treat the workers who were injured. His brow lifted slightly. Did I speak unclearly? No, my lord. The innocent live, I said. The words scraped. The guilty answer. Veros bowed, as the queen would command. No. Not only as Belinda would command, that was the point. As I command, I said. He understood then. By dawn I returned to the Eyrie with blood dried beneath my scales and Ravok's message in my hand. Belinda was awake. Of course she was. She lay propped against black pillows, her dark skin warm in the hearthlight, exhaustion carved into every line of her face. The ring on her finger glowed dimmer than before, but alive. Her eyes moved over me. How many? She asked. The guilty. And the rest? I crossed the room and knelt beside her bed. Alive. For a moment she said nothing, Then her hand lifted, weak but certain, and rested against my cheek. "You came back," she whispered. I turned my face into her palm. "Ravok is coming for the court," I said, "for your ring." Her fingers stilled. Grief sat between us. War waited beyond the door. Belinda's eyes hardened, then helped me sit up.
Sitting up should not have felt like sedition. It did. My body protested every inch like it had filed a formal complaint with God. My side still burned under the healed skin, my belly cramped in cruel waves, and every time I shifted, I remembered the blood. There was no forgetting that kind of blood. Dr. Reed stood beside the bed with her arms crossed. "You should not be going to court. I know. You should be resting. I also know that. You are still bleeding. I am painfully aware." She gave me the look doctors give patients who are about to do something stupid with confidence. I pushed my blanket back anyway. Cindy helped me dress because Malrik's hands were shaking too badly. That almost made me stay in bed. Not the pain, not the dizziness. Him, the dragon lord of the white flame, stood near the hearth, covered in dried enemy blood, looking like he had torn hell apart and come back unsatisfied. His gold eyes followed every movement I made. Cindy fastened the black dress up my back with angry fingers. "You pass out. I'm telling everybody you did it because dragon politics are boring," she muttered. "Fair." The dress was morning black, fitted high at my throat and loose enough around my middle not to make me want to stab somebody. Gold thread ran through the sleeves like fire trapped in fabric. My braids were pulled back and cuffed in gold. The ring on my finger glowed dimly now, not bright like before. Still alive. So was I. That had to count for something. When Cindy finished, I looked at myself in the mirror and almost did not recognize the woman staring back. Not because grief had made me less, because it had stripped the bullshit away. I looked tired. I looked hurt. I looked like I had crawled through fire, blood, and men's opinions about my uterus and still had somewhere to be. Good. "Help me up," I said. Malrik moved first. He crossed the room in 2 strides and offered his arm. Not my captor. Not my wall. My husband. I took it. His voice was low. "If this becomes too much, I will carry you out." "If I ask?" His jaw tightened. I squeezed his arm. "You asked me what I chose. I'm choosing this." His eyes lowered to the ring. "Ravok wants to make your grief a weapon against you. Then he's about to learn I carry knives better than grief." For the first time since the healing chamber, something like a smile touched his mouth. Not joy. Never that. But recognition. The court was full when we entered. Of course it was. Dragons loved a spectacle, especially if it came with blood and the possibility of someone getting burned alive before lunch. The high court chamber opened to the sky, all black stone and gold-veined pillars, with clan banners hanging like threats. Dragon nobles filled the tiered seats. Some wore jewels, some wore armor. Some wore expressions that said they had already decided what a human queen was worth and were waiting for me to prove them right. Whispers spread as I walked in. Cursed. Human. No air. Empty. Malrik's arm went hot beneath my hand. "Do not," I whispered. A thin line of white fire slipped between his teeth. "I have not. That is not the same as behaving." His gaze stayed forward. "I am attempting diplomacy. Try harder." Julius stood at the center of the chamber with 3 iron-bound chests at his feet. His robes were scorched at the hem, and his face held the kind of calm that meant somebody was about to be legally skinned. "My lord. My queen." He bowed to both of us. Both. I noticed. So did the court. Malrik did not lead me to the throne and stand in front of me like I was furniture he intended to guard. He took his place beside me. The whispers changed. Good. Let them choke on it. Julius opened the first chest. Inside were maps marked in red and black. Sweet Mercy. The nursery. The eastern furnace line. The court itself. The red throat attack was coordinated, Julius said. Not against a battlefield, against protected civilian ground. A growl moved through the chamber. He opened the second chest. Black-red ash sat sealed in crystal jars, ugly and oily even behind glass. Forbidden flame, Moses said from below the dais. His voice was quiet, but the whole court heard it. Bone ash, oath rot, grave-fed fire. Several elders shifted uncomfortably. I hoped the chairs had splinters. The third chest held copper seals and letters. Julius lifted one with tongs. Correspondence from Ember House loyalists to Ravok of Red Throat. The chamber erupted. Sheba's faction tried to shout first. That was smart. Guilty people loved volume. One Ember Lord stood so fast his chair cracked. Forgery! Julius looked almost bored. The seals were blood-bound. The ash signature has been verified by 3 fire masters. Sit down before your innocence becomes more exhausting than your treason. I liked Julius. Malrik's mouth barely moved. He has been waiting years to say something like that. I can tell. When the noise settled, I stepped forward. The room did not go quiet because they respected me. It went quiet because Malrik's fire rose behind me. I would take it. For now. I came here today grieving, I said. My voice did not shake. That surprised me. Maybe grief had weight, but it also had teeth. I did not come ashamed. Some faces turned away. Cowards. My body did not fail. My body fought for both of us until it couldn't fight anymore. What happened to me is not a curse. It is not proof that humans are lesser. It is not political evidence for any old bastard in this room to use when he feels nervous about change. A hiss came from the left tier. Malrik turned his head. The hiss died. I kept going. From this day forward, no court, clan, elder, rival, or throne may use pregnancy, miscarriage, fertility, infertility, or the body of any mate as a challenge to rank, crown, bond, or worth. Julius lifted his chin. Let the record hear the Queen's decree. It will also be law, I said. Human mates are under crown protection. Mixed-blood children are clan-born and crown-guarded. No nursery may refuse them. No elder may call them corruption. No petition may use a woman's blood as a ladder to power. Elder Varkos of Granite Horn stood. He was ancient, horn-browed, and looked like he had been carved from bad opinions. A grieving queen cannot rewrite blood law. I looked at him. A grieving queen just did. Murmurs. His nostrils flared. Dragon lines must remain pure. I laughed once. It sounded mean. Good. Pure? I said. Your pure dragons just fed grave ash into fire and burned a nursery. His face hardened. You are human. You do not understand. No, you don't understand. I stepped down one stair. Malrik moved with me. Beside me. Not ahead. I am done being polite about people who discuss my womb like public property. You can kneel because you respect me, or you can kneel because my husband is currently deciding whether diplomacy was a phase. Choose wisely. Silence. Then Malrik smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was a reminder that beneath the court robes and law and gold, he was still the thing old dragons warned their children about. Varkos knelt first. Slowly. Then another. Then another. The sound spread through the chamber like rain made of bone and pride. Knees hitting stone. I breathed through a cramp and refused to sway. The ring pulsed once. Dim. Stubborn. Mine. Then the sky split open. Black-red fire tore across the open roof, striking the ward dome hard enough to crack gold light down every pillar. Dragons screamed and surged from their seats. The banners caught fire. Malrik's arm came around me. Ravok landed on the outer crown arch in full dragon form. He was massive. Iron-red scales scarred black. Broken horn wrapped in bone rings. His wings spread wide enough to shadow half the court. Black-red flame leaked from his jaws and dripped onto the stone like poison. Little human queen, he rumbled. Making laws with blood still wet between your thighs. Malrik roared. The chamber shook. I grabbed his wrist before he launched himself through the court. He wants you stupid, I snapped. Ravok laughed. White flame. I challenge before the full court. Your ring is corrupted queen fire, fed by human blood, fed by a dead ember. Let your wounded queen ride, her crown is true, or I will tear the gold from her living hand. The words struck the court like a blade. Julius went rigid. Old law. I knew it before anyone explained. Some rotten, ancient rule crawled up from the grave exactly when a monster needed it. Malrik's eyes stayed on Ravok. I will answer. No, I said. His head turned. The whole court seemed to hold its breath. I felt the ache in my belly, the pull in my side, the exhaustion waiting like a floor beneath my feet. I also felt the crown. Not on my head, in my spine. If you answer alone, I said softly, then every coward here learns my crown only speaks through your fire. You are hurt. I know. You are still bleeding. I know that too. His face twisted. Belinda. Not an order, a plea. That hurt worse. I touched his cheek. If I say land, you land. If I cannot hold on, you bring me down. I am not dying for optics. His gold eyes burned. But I am going, I said. The crown is mine too. For one terrible second, I thought he would break. Then he bowed his head. Yes, my queen. Outside, Ravok launched into the smoke-dark sky, circling above the Eyrie like death with wings. Malrik turned toward the open ledge. His body began to change. Bones thundered. Shadows expanded. Black scales edged in gold rolled over him as wings tore wide behind his back. White fire filled his throat, bright enough to make the court shield their eyes. He lowered his massive head to me. The ring warmed. His voice entered my mind, rough and grieving and leashed. Climb, my queen. I stepped onto his foreleg, pain flashing low and sharp. Cindy shouted my name from somewhere behind me. I did not look back. Gold straps bloomed from the ring, wrapping my waist and thighs, anchoring me between his shoulders. I leaned forward against his warm scales and stared into the black-red sky. Let's go answer this son of a bitch, I whispered. Malrik leaped. The world dropped out from under me. For half a second there was only wind, black sky, and the stupid human part of my brain screaming that women who were still bleeding should not be riding dragons into aerial murder trials. Then Malrik's wings opened. The fall became flight. Gold straps from the ring locked around my thighs and waist, hot as a promise. I flattened myself against the armor of his scales, my fingers hooked into ridges of black and gold, while white fire rolled beneath me like a living storm. Above us, Ravok circled. He was bigger than any enemy I'd seen, iron-red and scarred, his broken horn wrapped in bone like trophies from dead things. Black-red flame dripped from his jaws and hissed where it struck the ward dome below. The court watched from the open chamber. Let them. If they wanted a queen made neat and quiet, they should have kidnapped a different baker. Ravok dove. Malrik rose to meet him. The impact cracked the sky. Their bodies slammed together with a sound that went through my bones. Claws tore at scales. Teeth snapped near Malrik's throat. White fire burst sideways, bright enough to blind, and Ravok's black-red flame answered like rot-given heat. I screamed, not from fear this time, but because the ring yanked hard, anchoring me as Malrik rolled in the air. Mountain, sky, fire, scales. Everything spun. Hold, my queen. His voice filled my skull, rough and terrible. I am holding, damn it! Ravok's tail whipped across Malrik's shoulder and clipped the gold straps. One snapped loose. My body jerked sideways, and for one awful breath I saw the Eyrie far below, sharp black stone waiting to split me open. The ring flared. Gold fire wrapped my ribs and slammed me back between Malrik's shoulders. Pain shot through my side. I tasted blood. Malrik felt it. His roar turned the clouds white. He caught Ravok by one wing and bit down. Bone cracked. Ravok bellowed and raked his claws across Malrik's chest, peeling up scales. Hot dragon blood sprayed back across my hands. I did not let go. Grief had made me tired. Fear had made me practical. Rage made me steady. Ravok tore free and dropped, not toward the court, but down the mountain. Toward the city. Toward Sweet Mercy. No, I whispered. Malrik saw. He folded his wings and dove. The mountain blurred past us. The wind ripped tears from my eyes. Below, the city burned with alarm lanterns, humans and dragons scattering through the streets as Ravok's shadow swallowed rooftops. Sweet Mercy sat on Mercy Street with its fireproof glass and new wards and stubborn little signs still swinging over the door. My bakery. My home. The place where this whole impossible mess had started with a wedding cake and one cursed gold coin. Ravok opened his jaws. Black-red fire gathered. He was not aiming at Malrik. He was aiming at everything I had been before the crown. I lifted my hand. The ring answered weakly at first. Dim. Tired. Grieving, too. Come on, I said through my teeth. One more time. Gold light spilled from it, thinner than before, but stubborn as hell. It spread over Sweet Mercy in a shield just as Ravok's flame struck. The street exploded. Windows along Mercy Street burst inward. Stones smoked. The shield screamed against the forbidden fire, bending low enough that I felt the heat across my face. Then the black-red flame curled around the edge. It found me. Pain ate my side. The healed burn split open like a mouth. I screamed so hard my throat tore. Malrik lost the sky. Not control. Something worse. Restraint. White fire gathered under every scale. His body became a falling star, and for 1 second I knew he meant to burn Ravok, the street, the city, the law, the whole world if it got between him and my pain. I slammed my bleeding hand against his neck. No! His fire bucked beneath me. Malrik, no! He burned you. Yes, I gasped, so help me burn him right. That reached him. Barely. But barely was enough. Ravok laughed above us, circling over the roofs with his torn wing dragging smoke. Look at her white flame. Bleeding again. Your queen is nothing but a wound with a ring. Something cold and clean moved through me. Not peace. Decision. I pressed my ring hand flat to Malrik's scales. Give me your fire. His whole body went rigid. Belinda. You said you trusted my hand. You are hurt. I know. Give me your fire anyway. The ring tightened until it felt fused to my bone. White fire rose from Malrik, not in a blast, but in a stream pulled through the bond between us. It entered the ring like thunder forced through a needle. It hurt. God, it hurt. Heat crawled through my arm, into my chest, down into the empty place in my belly where the little ember had been. For a second, I thought grief would swallow it. Instead, grief gave it shape. Not a child. Never that. Nothing would replace them. But love had lived there. Briefly. Bravely. And love, I had learned, could be sharp. Ravok dove again, jaws wide. Black-red fire poured down. I lifted my hand. Malrik opened his throat. White fire met gold. The ring did not shield. It caught. The enemy flame struck us, and this time I did not push it away. I felt Malrik through the ring, his rage, his control, his terror of hurting me, his monstrous power kneeling to my choice. Now, I whispered. Together we turned Ravok's fire back on him. Gold-white flame wrapped around the black-red stream and twisted it like hot sugar. Ravok tried to pull away, but Malrik surged upward and slammed into him chest first. I held the channel until my vision blurred, and my blood ran hot down my side. The returned flame hit Ravok in the throat. His scream shook Mercy Street. Black-red fire burst from the cracks in his scales. Bone rings on his horn melted. His wings folded wrong, and he dropped hard into the square before Sweet Mercy, smashing stone into a crater. Malrik landed on him. Not beside him. On him. The street split beneath their weight. Ravok clawed upward, throat smoking, but Malrik pinned him with one massive talon and lowered his head until white fire lit every broken scale. "Kill me," Ravok rasped. "Be what you are." Malrik's fire brightened. I slid down his shoulder before anyone could stop me. The gold straps lowered me, but my knees still hit the street badly. Pain burst through my side. I almost went down. Cindy caught me from nowhere. Because of course she did. "You absolute menace," she sobbed. "You could have died on a Tuesday." "It's not Tuesday. It feels like Tuesday." I leaned against her and looked at Malrik. He looked back at me. Dragon. Lord. Husband. Monster. Mine, but never harmless. I shook my head once. His jaw flexed. For a heartbeat, the city held its breath. Then Malrik lifted his talon off Ravok's throat and shifted enough for words the whole square could understand. "Ravok of Red Throat," he said, voice deep with fire, "you will answer to dragon law. You will answer for forbidden flame, for the nursery, for Sweet Mercy, for treason, and for the blood of my queen." Ravok laughed weakly. Malrik leaned closer. "And if law finds death for you, it will be slower than mercy." That shut him up. Chains came. Julius came with legal fury wrapped in robes. Moses came with healers. Dr. Reed came yelling my name like I was personally responsible for every gray hair she had earned. Maybe I was. Malrik shifted fully back and reached for me. This time I went willingly. He gathered me against his chest, hot and shaking, his hand pressed over my bleeding side. "You trusted me," he said. "You trusted me back." His forehead touched mine. Around us, humans and dragons stood together in the wreckage of Mercy Street, staring at the crater, the bakery, the queen who had bled and still raised her hand. Sweet Mercy's sign swung once. Still there. So was I. Months later, my bakery smelled like cinnamon, coffee, and dragon smoke. Business was ridiculous. Humans came for comfort. Dragons came pretending they did not need comfort, and then bought 6 peach turnovers each. Wounded young from broken clans sat at corner tables with hot chocolate and suspicious eyes. No one bothered them. Not in my place. Above the counter, a small gold plaque read, "The Little Ember Fund for Children Caught Between Fires." I touched it every morning. Some days it hurt like a blade. Some days it felt like a hand. Both were true. Malrik came in after sunset, too large for the doorway, and still somehow offended by chairs. He kissed me over a tray of honey rolls, careful as ever, dangerous as always. "You are finished for the night," he said. "I own this bakery. And I own concern." That was almost sweet. His eyes warmed. I am improving. Outside, his dragon form waited on the mountain ledge above the city, black scales edged in gold, wings folded against the sunset. I climbed onto him without trembling. The ring wrapped me in gold. His voice entered me softly. "Higher?" I looked down at Sweet Mercy glowing below us, at the court changed by ash and sugar, at the life that had continued without asking permission from grief. Then I smiled into the wind. Always.
Every part of me, it longs for you in every way, so deep and true, physically, mentally. My heart is yours, my soul whispers your name forevermore. Whether you love me or hate me, I wanna be your only. Focus on me, don't let go, I'm madly in love, this I know. I'm selfish, I'll admit, I want you all just for me, that's it. I'll work hard for us, for our dreams. I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours, all yours forever it seems. true. I need you now, can't you see? You're everything that completes me. Whether you love me or hate me,